Once upon a time, I was engaged to a man I believed I would spend my life with, but fate had other plans for us, all thanks to my sister. In those dark days, I was devastated. Now, though, I have found new joy, and I'm eager to share it with my sister and my dear friend, Kevin. My name is Julia. I'm not stunningly beautiful, just an ordinary office worker. Once upon a time, there was a man named Mike who had promised to marry me. Mike was the handsome type, with a career in a prestigious firm, the kind of guy people call the catch. We were blissfully happy in a way that made me believe it would never end. But then, life's cruelty intervened, and I never did marry Mike, all because of my sister. My sister's name is Emma. She has always had a keen interest in fashion, which she maintains to this day. Unlike me, Emma has always been meticulous about her appearance and has always been naturally beautiful. As a result, she attracted attention from boys since middle school and even had a stint as an amateur model for a fashion magazine. Emma harbors dreams of becoming a professional model. Meanwhile, after graduating from college and settling into a routine job at a regular company, I found myself invited to dinner by a business associate named Mike. Over time, we got to know each other better through these dinners, and unexpectedly, something began to develop between us. That evening, Mike invited me out to dinner after work. I accepted without hesitation, enjoying his company. On our way back, Mike surprised me by confessing his feelings. Though taken aback, I realized I had feelings for him too, and so began our relationship. A year later, Mike proposed, and I happily accepted. Shortly after our engagement, Mike and I visited my parents to share the news. They were delighted, and discussions about wedding plans filled our home with joy. However, not everyone shared in our happiness. That person was my younger sister, Emma. Emma was shocked to hear about my engagement, and even more so when she met Mike. Always popular and admired for her looks, Emma had a history of dismissing my more reserved romantic life. "I don't want my embarrassing sister to ruin my reputation," she would often say. Seeing me, whom she considered less socially adept, marry a successful man from a prestigious company before her seemed to bruise her pride deeply. Yet, I remained unaware of Emma's true feelings, oblivious to her subtle disdain. Looking back, I should have noticed her demeanor. Then, one day, Emma casually asked, "Since you're going to be my brother-in-law, can we exchange contact information?" Mike and I saw no reason to refuse, so we exchanged numbers without hesitation. As I neared the end of my job tenure, there were many late nights spent wrapping up projects. Then, on a day when my parents were away, Emma put her plan into motion, a plan she likely devised long before, knowing I would soon leave our family home to live with Mike. Emma seized her opportunity. She called Mike, fabricating a story. "Mike, my sister suddenly came home sick. Our parents are out of town, and I'm feeling uneasy being alone. Could you come over?" Deceived by her ruse, Mike, who was just finishing work, rushed to her house without suspecting anything. "Emma, I rushed over because I heard Julia was ill." "Where is she?" Mike's concern was palpable, and naturally, he assumed I was home. But Emma quickly admitted, "I'm sorry, Mike. I lied to you. My sister isn't sick, she's still at work." Instead of anger, Mike responded with a puzzled expression. "Why would you lie about that?" Emma, visibly nervous, began to explain. Meanwhile, after finishing my workday, I arrived home to an unexpected sight. Mike was there. Despite the surprise, I greeted him cheerfully. "Oh, you're here. What's up?" Little did I know this moment would soon bring the deepest despair and sadness I had ever known. "Julia, I'm sorry. I think we should break up." Mike's words hit me like a sudden storm. Unable to grasp their meaning at first, I stammered, "What? Are you serious? Break up? What's going on?" As I pressed for answers, Emma entered the room, casting an uneasy atmosphere over us. "Julia, the truth is, I've been seeing Emma. I'm sorry, but I've fallen in love with her more than I realized." Mike's words left me stunned and confused. Still reeling from the shock, Emma added, "I'm sorry, Julia, but Mike has decided to marry me." I felt utterly lost and devastated. Emma, with an awkward attempt at comfort, said, You might not want to attend our wedding ceremony, but please come to the reception, won't you? Tears were all I could manage. Emma had stolen my fiancé away from me. I felt abandoned, and the pain was overwhelming. My parents were deeply concerned, watching helplessly as I withdrew into my room. Having already quit my job, I felt utterly powerless. Messages from my former coworkers asking about the wedding plans only intensified my sorrow. I could only reply, explaining it would be a simple family affair. Months later, I found myself in a new and unfamiliar place, determined to begin anew and find true happiness. After the painful breakup with Mike, I had withdrawn for a time, but a newfound determination welled up inside me. Why should I continue to suffer? It was time to move on. Things progressed swiftly from there. I spoke with my parents, deciding to leave home and start afresh in a completely different environment. The new place was surrounded by lush greenery. My parents supported my decision wholeheartedly, assisting me greatly with the relocation. Shortly after settling in, while taking a moment to relax, my mom approached me with surprising news. While you were in your room, Mike visited. He explained everything that happened between you two and apologized. I couldn't fathom why my parents were apologizing. What Mike had done was beyond forgiveness, yet there they were, even kneeling in remorse. We've also heard about Emma. We understand you can't forgive her, Julia, but she's our daughter too, my parents explained, visibly torn. They were deeply troubled by Emma's actions, knowing the pain she had caused me. Despite their disapproval, Emma seemed to have made her choice and went to Mike. From then on, Mike began a daily ritual of coming to our house, pleading for forgiveness and seeking approval for his marriage to Emma. Faced with Mike's persistence, my parents eventually felt compelled to relent. That's why they apologized to me for accepting his union with Emma. I honestly don't dwell on it anymore, but I understand how you feel, I replied with a bittersweet smile, holding back the tears. My mom was visibly emotional, while my dad wore a pained expression of apology. Despite everything, I reassured them, when I have children, I'll lean on you both a lot. Their faces softened into smiles at my words. Mom, still teary-eyed, added, don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything. As I settled into my new life and found some peace of mind, I began working at a cozy little restaurant. The team was small, but the atmosphere was bright and welcoming, which I appreciated greatly. The banter among the staff, especially the teasing directed at the manager, John, added to the warmth of the place. A few months into my job, a pivotal event unfolded that would shape my future. It happened one evening as John offered me a ride home after work and confessed his feelings for me. I was taken aback and uncertain. John was genuinely a good guy, kind-hearted, with both charm and a friendly demeanor that appealed to many. Yet, I couldn't shake off the past hurt that still lingered within me. I feared the possibility of facing abandonment once again. John seemed to sense my hesitation and assured me there was no rush for an answer before heading home for the day. Despite the initial awkwardness, the familiar camaraderie with the part-time staff and John's kindness helped ease my worries. Deep down, I felt my heart had already made a decision. During a break, I discovered something about John's past. It turned out he had been betrayed by someone he had been dating and had a rough experience at his previous workplace before joining the restaurant. We shared a similar pain of betrayal by those we trusted. That day, I chose to accompany John home to listen to his story. Along the way, he opened up about his past. He had previously managed a store, but due to certain events, the store lost credibility and eventually closed down. John bore the brunt of the blame and lost his job as a result. After hearing John's story, I felt compelled to share my own reasons for being at the restaurant. When I finished, John looked at me kindly and said, "You are incredibly strong." His words meant the world to me, acknowledging my resilience despite the pain I'd endured. It was exactly what I needed to hear. I did my best. Despite being betrayed by someone I loved, I managed to pick myself up, I confessed, acknowledging the difficulty of my journey. To which John sincerely added, "You've done amazingly well too." John's smile grew wider, and in that moment, I found the courage to respond to his earlier confession. "Since that day, I might be a handful, but I hope you'll be patient with me," I told him. From then on, the teasing from the part-timers at the restaurant increased, but it was all in good spirit. "Congratulations! Wishing you both a lifetime of happiness," they cheered, genuinely happy for us. "That's a bit premature," John teased, a bit flustered. "There's a right time for that wine, and it'll come around again. When it does, you better let me say it." I laughed along with everyone else. It was a moment of pure joy, a typical day in our lives. Until things took a turn. For the second time in my life, I was proposed to. Without hesitation, I accepted, determined to find lasting happiness this time. I believed John was the one who could truly make me happy. I visited my parents' house for the first time in a while to share the news, and they were overjoyed. Opening up about John, I felt their support as they said, "Please make our daughter happy. We trust you." "I will make Catherine happy," he asserted confidently. After chatting for a while, my dad hesitated before sharing, "Emma and Mike are going to get married." He mentioned that an invitation might arrive, but insisted I needn't worry about it. Truthfully, I wasn't bothered. I was too wrapped up in my own happiness. In fact, I wanted to celebrate it openly. When I expressed this to my parents, they responded warmly, "If Catherine feels that way, then we trust your judgment." Sure enough, a few days later, an invitation to Emma's wedding arrived. I decided we would attend together. John and I had opted for a simple legal marriage due to Emma's impending wedding. We felt it would be less overwhelming for our parents and relatives to stagger our celebrations. We promised ourselves a proper wedding ceremony once things had settled down. On the day of Emma's wedding, John and I arrived together at the venue. It had been a while since we had seen Emma and Mike. Mike appeared weary, and there was a tension in the air as we exchanged greetings and introductions with family. When I proudly introduced John as my husband, Emma's reaction was visibly surprised, etching the moment into memory. During the event, I found myself wanting to ask Mike about what had transpired between him and Emma on the day when neither my parents nor I were present. Mike initially hesitated, but eventually began to confide in me. According to him, when Emma called him that day and informed him falsely that I was suddenly ill, Mike decided to wait for me, but Emma arrived with strong drinks, coaxing him to indulge. Despite not being a heavy drinker, Mike had a few too many and became intoxicated. In his vulnerable state, Emma took advantage of the situation and seduced him. Mike admitted that Emma's beauty and allure played a role in clouding his judgment. Despite our engagement, he succumbed to temptation, and from then on, his attention began to drift towards Emma. After hearing Mike's confession, his repeated apologies seemed insignificant to me. Honestly, I felt indifferent. What mattered most was finally knowing the truth. Meanwhile, John and Emma were engaged in a conversation nearby. I was curious about their discussion but decided to inquire later, considering Emma's upcoming wedding. On our way home, I couldn't resist asking John, "Were you upset when you were talking to Emma?" John sighed. "As I mentioned before, she's my ex who betrayed me. But that's not all. She's also the reason I lost my job." I was taken aback. It felt like such a small world, and learning that Emma was directly responsible for the closure of John's shop added another layer of shock. I delved deeper into the situation. It turned out that a few months into Emma's relationship with John, she had an affair with a designer. Emma believed dating someone in the modeling industry would be more advantageous, despite already being with John. When John discovered this by chance, he understandably confronted Emma. However, instead of showing remorse, Emma became angry, and the relationship ended abruptly. Emma's anger did not dissipate. She went further, fabricating a fake photo of foreign objects in dishes from John's restaurant and shared it on social media. Given her modeling career, she had a substantial following, and the photos quickly went viral. The negative publicity reached John's boss, who had entrusted the business to him, amid declining profits. The resulting closure of the restaurant led to John losing his job, with him unfairly shouldering the blame. John harbored deep resentment over the incident, not knowing the true culprit behind the fabricated photo. He was left without a target for his anger. Amidst the turmoil, John finally discovered the truth during a casual drink with a friend. His girlfriend's friend had seen Emma boasting on social media about causing the closure of a restaurant, unaware that the restaurant belonged to John. The friend relayed this information to John. Though John now knew who was responsible, it was too late to take any action, so he resolved to make a fresh start elsewhere. It was then that John and I crossed paths. I approached John with an apology. "I'm sorry for what my sister did. I'm the sister of the person who caused so much trouble in your life. I didn't know how to face you. I was afraid you might hate me." John's response was unexpectedly kind. "It's all in the past, Catherine. None of this was your fault." His words brought me immense relief, reaffirming our decision to pursue happiness together once more. Later, Emma faced consequences for her actions. She had arranged a photo shoot at an unexpected location, our home, known for its lush greenery and picturesque backdrop. The deal for modeling the shoot was evidently part of her ambition to pursue a modeling career. The incident took place during dinner at a restaurant she had visited, which happened to be John's. Since I no longer worked at John's restaurant, I heard about this incident afterward. Upon recognizing Emma at the entrance, John promptly intervened, stating firmly, "I'm sorry, but I can't allow you to enter here." He refused Emma and her group access, prompting the staff to inquire about the situation. John proceeded to disclose Emma's past actions and the hardships he had endured because of her. "She has a criminal record, and I have evidence to support it. I can't risk a repeat of past troubles, so I must refuse her entry." There was stunned silence among the staff, and Emma visibly paled at John's words. Moreover, John declared his intention to inform the president of the company where Emma was poised to start about her troubled history. The individual who had scouted Emma was taken aback and urged John to reconsider, but John remained resolute in his decision. As a result, Emma's scheduled photo shoot was cancelled, and news of the incident spread throughout the industry, shattering her aspirations of becoming a model. No one wanted to associate with someone who had caused such a significant scandal in the past. Adding to this, I learned from my mom that Mike's company had been experiencing declining performance lately, and he was now under consideration for demotion. She appeared concerned about what the future held for both of them. Despite the tumultuous events, John and I continued to enjoy our days together happily. Today marks the eve of our long-awaited wedding. We've both overcome challenges in the past, but now we're filled with joy. There's also a new life growing within me. Congratulations! Wishing you a lifetime of happiness, the staff from the restaurant where we first met cheerfully repeated this familiar phrase. "Thank you," I responded gratefully, stating before everyone, I pledge to cherish our family always and to seek happiness forevermore.